Part 1. The Battlefield of the Mind. Chapter 1. The Mind, Friend or Foe. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy. Bhagavad Gita 6.6. The mental marathon we all run. Take a moment right now and tune into what's happening inside your head. Notice that constant stream of thoughts flowing through your consciousness, worries about tomorrow's meeting, memories from last week, random observations about your surroundings, maybe even thoughts about the thoughts you're having. Scientists estimate that about 70,000 thoughts race through our minds every single day. That's roughly one thought every 1.2 seconds during our waking hours. It's like having a radio that never turns off, constantly cycling through different stations, some playing beautiful music, others broadcasting static, and unfortunately, many tuned to the doom and gloom news channel. Here's the uncomfortable truth. While some of these thoughts lift us up and inspire us, far too many are negative, fearful, or downright destructive. They whisper doubts about our abilities, replay painful memories on endless loop, catastrophize about unlikely future scenarios, or tear down our self-worth with harsh inner criticism. This mental chaos can feel overwhelming. It's like living in a house where every television and radio is on simultaneously, each blaring different content at full volume. No wonder we often feel mentally exhausted, fragmented, and desperately searching for some inner peace. But what if this mental battlefield could become a peaceful garden? What if the very thoughts that seem to trap us could become tools for our liberation? This is the transformative insight that both Max Lucado and the ancient Bhagavad Gita offer, through proper understanding and skillful practice. Our minds can shift from being our greatest enemy to our most trusted ally. The ancient understanding, your mind as a double-edged sword. Long before modern psychology mapped the complexities of human thinking, ancient wisdom traditions understood this fundamental truth about the mind. The Bhagavad Gita describes the mind as a double-edged sword, capable of both elevating us to spiritual heights and dragging us down into suffering. The text puts it simply but powerfully: a person must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul, and his enemy as well. Bhagavad Gita 6.5. Think about that for a moment. Your mind, this incredible faculty of perception, emotion, and will, has divine potential for good. When properly trained and focused, it becomes your most valuable ally, guiding you toward genuine peace and spiritual growth. It helps you distinguish truth from illusion, right action from wrong, and cultivates the qualities that draw you closer to the divine. But here's the catch. That same mind, if left unchecked and enslaved by fleeting desires and external distractions, can quickly become your worst enemy. How the mind becomes our enemy. The Bhagavad Gita explains that our pure spiritual nature gets entangled in material existence primarily because the mind develops what we might call a control complex. An ego-driven desire to dominate and manipulate our environment. We see this everywhere in modern life. We constantly strive to accumulate more wealth, achieve higher status, seek endless entertainment, or control other people's opinions of us. We try to manipulate circumstances, relationships, and resources to fulfill our personal agendas, driven by the false belief that such control will bring ultimate happiness. But here's the problem: we're trying to control a universe that's infinitely larger and more complex than our individual selves. It's like a single cell in your body trying to direct your entire life. The scope is completely mismatched to the capacity. This misguided attempt to play God in our own little worlds leads to what the Bhagavad Gita calls false ego, the mental construct that makes us identify completely with our temporary circumstances and roles. We think, I am my job, I am my bank account, I am my political affiliation, I am this body with all its problems. When false ego runs the show, the mind becomes a factory for desires that can never truly be satisfied. We get caught in endless cycles of wanting, getting, briefly enjoying, then wanting something else. It's like drinking salt water when we're thirsty, it only makes us thirstier. The result? A continuous loop of longing and dissatisfaction. The mind, absorbed in contemplating material objects, generates attachment. From attachment comes strong desire. When desires are frustrated, anger arises. This trilogy, unfulfilled desire, anger, and greed, creates what the Bhagavad Gita calls the three gates to hell, because they're so destructive to our well-being. The challenge: taming the wild mind. Anyone who has tried to meditate, focus on a single task for an extended period, or simply quiet their thoughts understands just how challenging the mind can be. It's like trying to herd cats. Just when you think you've got it under control, it darts off in 12 different directions. This universal struggle was perfectly captured by Arjuna, the warrior student in the Bhagavad Gita, when he confessed to Krishna, "The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it seems to me more difficult than controlling the wind." Bhagavad Gita 6.34. What a perfect analogy. Try to control the wind, it's invisible, everywhere at once, and completely untamable by ordinary human effort. Arjuna's comparison shows us that trying to master the mind through willpower alone is nearly impossible. The mind isn't just restless, constantly jumping from thought to thought. It's also turbulent, stirring up our inner world and pulling us in contradictory directions. It's obstinate, stubbornly refusing to listen to our better judgment. And it's incredibly strong, often overriding even our best intentions. Throughout history, many dedicated spiritual seekers have tried to conquer their minds through severe practices, extreme disciplines, and sheer determination. Yet even some of the greatest among them have sometimes fallen back into old patterns because they tried to control the mind by force rather than by giving it something better to do. For those of us living in the modern world, with its constant sensory bombardment, information overload, and endless distractions, controlling the mind seems even more daunting. We're like someone trying to concentrate while standing in Times Square during New Year's Eve. The solution: engagement, not suppression. Here's where the wisdom gets really practical. The Bhagavad Gita doesn't leave us hopeless in the face of mental chaos. When Arjuna expresses his frustration, Krishna acknowledges that yes, the restless mind is extremely difficult to control, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. Bhagavad Gita 6.35. The key insight here is revolutionary. We don't tame the mind by trying to stop it or suppress it. Instead, we give it something so engaging and satisfying that it naturally loses interest in chaotic, destructive thinking. It's like dealing with a hyperactive child. You don't calm them down by telling them to sit still and be quiet, that just makes them more restless. Instead, you give them an engaging activity that captures their attention so completely that they naturally become focused and peaceful. The Bhagavad Gita's ultimate recommendation for our current age is surprisingly simple: engage the mind in chanting sacred names, particularly the Hare Krishna mantra. This isn't just empty repetition, it's giving the mind a transcendent focus that's so satisfying that material distractions naturally fade into the background. The chariot metaphor: understanding your inner world. To help us understand why mind control is so crucial, ancient wisdom offers a brilliant analogy that makes everything crystal clear. Imagine your body as a chariot, the vehicle that carries you through life. Your intelligence is the driver, whose job is to make wise decisions and navigate toward beneficial destinations while avoiding dangers. Your mind functions like the reins that control the horses. And what are the horses? Your senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, along with your capacity for action. These horses are naturally strong and spirited, constantly seeking stimulation and gratification. Finally, seated in the chariot is you, the eternal soul, the passenger whose experience depends entirely on where this whole contraption ends up going. Here's the critical point: if your intelligence, the driver, is weak, if your mind, the reins, is loose and undisciplined, and if your senses, the horses, are running wild, you, the soul, get dragged along on a chaotic, often painful ride with no real control over the destination. But when the intelligence is strong and wise, when the mind is disciplined and focused, and when the senses are properly controlled, the journey becomes peaceful, purposeful, and ultimately liberating. Starting the journey: practical steps for mind training. So how do we begin transforming our minds from unpredictable enemies into trusted friends? Both Max Lucado's Practical Christianity and the Bhagavad Gita's Spiritual Science offer complementary approaches. Develop discriminating awareness. This starts with what Lucado calls picky thinking, becoming selective about what we allow into our mental space. Not every thought deserves our attention. We can learn to filter thoughts, checking them against higher principles before letting them take root. In Vedic terms, this is called becoming careful in mind. It means actively regulating what we feed our consciousness, just as we're careful about what we feed our bodies. Redirect rather than suppress. Instead of trying to force the mind to stop thinking, which never works, we give it better things to think about. Lucado suggests focusing on God's truth through scripture. The Bhagavad Gita recommends focusing the mind on Krishna through practices like chanting sacred names. The principle is the same: superior engagement naturally displaces inferior engagement. Cultivate detachment from outcomes. This doesn't mean becoming apathetic or uncaring. Rather, it means doing our best while surrendering the results to divine will. When we're not frantically attached to controlling outcomes, the mind naturally becomes more peaceful. Purify your inputs. Just as junk food creates physical toxicity, mental junk food, negative media, destructive relationships, materialistic pursuits, creates mental toxicity. Consciously choose inputs that elevate rather than degrade your consciousness. The promise of transformation. Both traditions offer the same hopeful message: no matter how chaotic your mind feels right now, transformation is possible. You don't have to remain a victim of your own thoughts. Through proper understanding, dedicated practice, and divine grace, your mind can become your greatest asset instead of your greatest liability. The journey from mental chaos to inner peace isn't always easy, but it's absolutely achievable. Every step you take toward mind control is a step toward genuine freedom, lasting happiness, and a deeper connection with the divine source of all peace. Your mind can become your friend. The question is, are you ready to do what it takes to make that friendship real?